There are 5 things that every single agency owner needs in order to make 10K per month. 3 of them are personal skills and 2 of them are more tactical. I'm going to go over all 5 in this video so that you have every single thing that you're going to need to go from where you are now to be able to make that 5-figure a month income. So just as some social proof, I have already achieved this milestone. Now I'm making anywhere from 15 to 20K per month. I'll throw up a screenshot on the screen for you because in the space now there's a lot of bullshitters. So I figured that I would show you just so that you know that I'm the real deal. So the 5 things kind of come down to this, and I'll say what they are in a second, but to begin I want to go over kind of the first 3, and these are the foundational things that you need to have in place, because if you don't, your entire business is going to collapse and you're never going to achieve the results that you want to achieve. And kind of the reasoning behind why these 3 things are so important is because they all kind of stem down to this one point, which is that your business is a projection of yourself. And what that means is if you have these 3 things and you're able to demonstrate them and basically use them properly, your business is going to kind of reflect that. These 3 things are consistency, focus, and sacrifice. Now, why are these 3 things important, and why is it important to have these 3 things in order to have a successful agency? So you kind of want to look at this from the perspective of the agency itself. So if you want a 10K per month agency, you have to actually look at, well, what is that agency? And an agency that's consistently making 10K per month, obviously it has consistency. And to be able to build something like that, it has to come from focused effort. And when you're kind of along the journey of creating that, you have to basically be able to sacrifice some things. So I was kind of looking at this earlier before I recorded this video from the lens of I'm at about 20K per month now, and I'm looking at, well, what is essentially before you're at this like 8-9 figure stage, the business that you're running is essentially a projection of yourself. If you're able to build a 7-figure business, it's because you have become a person that is capable of building that. So when I'm looking at the difference between myself and someone who's built a 7-figure agency, I'm kind of thinking, who's the person that I need to become to be able to do that? Like, what kind of assets do I need to be able to acquire in order to become a 7-figure business owner? And I don't know the answers to that yet because I'm not there. But I can say, and I kind of started to look back on this, well, why was I able to go from 0 to $15,000 a month? Because most people aren't able to do that. So I kind of had to think and realize that, like, what actual factors were what allowed me to essentially get there. And I kind of boiled it down to these 5 things and then the first 3. So I'll touch on why these are important. So in terms of starting my business, it came out of a place where I was kind of already I already had these pieces of the puzzle kind of in place. So this was about a year after I started going to the gym, and I was very consistent with it, going basically 5 times a week for the past, now it's been like 2 years. And it's not like I'm not trying to brag, it's not some crazy feat, but if you don't have any consistency in place, if you're like just jumping up off the couch, watching pizza, seeing an ad on for Iman Godzi on your TV, and you just try and start a business, you're not going to succeed. And this kind of comes back to the point of the business is a projection of yourself. So if you have shitty habits and you're not consistent and you're not able to put in the work every single day, your business is not going to be able to reap the rewards of that work every single day. So it's not going to work out. And what I would highly recommend to anyone thinking about starting a business is to be able to kind of acquire those ground skills of being consistent, at least in some area of their life, whether that's sports, whether that's going to the gym, whether that's meditating, whether that's practicing an instrument. Like, any kind of consistent skill is going to translate into the behavior that you need in order to reach 10K per month. Because if you don't have that consistency, you aren't going to be able to get there, because it takes a long time. It took me about, I think, 9 months for me to actually get to that 7-figure or 6-figure point, 6-figure run. So that's number 1. Number 2 is focus. And the reason for that, and this kind of ties back into consistency, but it's worth mentioning on its own because it is also, it can be confused. So what I mean by focus is essentially focusing on one thing at a time, just honing in. And the problem that I see with a lot of agency owners nowadays is what they're doing is they're trying to basically start like 5 businesses at once with all like 5 different niches trying to do like different services. Like I've talked to people who are working with like coaches, consultants, ecom, med spa, and then they're running like Google ads, Facebook ads, and SEO all at the same time. And they're trying to solve like all these different problems at once. And because they're putting all their effort into all these different little things, they're not able to actually succeed in any of them. So if you look, for example, at like these professional sports players, every single professional athlete is very, very good at one thing, and they only focus on one thing. Like you've never seen LeBron James trying to, you've never seen him practicing hockey. Just like you don't see that. And the reason why he's been able to get so damn good at basketball and make a lot of money at basketball, and obviously it kind of applies to business as well. The reason why he's been able to get so good is because he's only focusing on one thing. So if you're trying to do a drop shipping business and an SMMA, you're going to be trying to learn how to set appointments for your SMMA, and then you're also going to try and like figure out how to acquire clients for your drop shipping brand. And the problem is you're trying to split like 50% of your effort into each of these different things, and you're gonna end up being worse at both of them, because this is what you have to understand. There's so many people in all of these different opportunities that if you trying 50% on SMMA and 50% on dropshipping, or even if like a more applicable to probably a lot more people, if you're trying to do like 50% on like construction companies, and then like you're also trying to work with like gym owners, you're going to lose to the person who's going 100% on construction. You're also going to lose to the person who's going 100% on gyms. You're going to be worse than them in both, and no one is going to come to you. So you have to learn to focus on one thing. And if you have never actually been able to do this, and this is like the whole shiny object syndrome thing, where if you don't actually focus on one thing, you end up getting lost because you're trying to solve too many problems at once, and you end up failing at all of them. Okay? And you don't actually get good at anything, which results in you not being able to sign any clients and make the money you want to make. So that's another thing. And then sacrifice. And again, this kind of ties down to the whole consistency thing, because there are going to be days and there are going to be times where it's very difficult to stay consistent. So for example, right, if you're cold calling and maybe like you want to go, I don't know, right? Like you want to go play your video games or whatever the case may be. And this is just a general statement, and maybe it's not like a video game, for example. But if you're trying to make 200 cold calls a day, and you're trying to stay consistent with that, working on the outreach, you're staying focused on the outreach, but you're like consistent every day. But if you have like random sparks where it's like, today I'm not feeling good, or today it's too hard, and you do that, you build the habit of not being able to push through when it gets difficult, and when you're feeling doubtful, you're gonna lose focus and you're not gonna be consistent. Because what's gonna happen is you're gonna have these massively high expectations, and it's going to be difficult, and you're going to feel like maybe if you're doing cold calling, that cold calling just doesn't work. And the problem is you just haven't sacrificed enough, because there are already people in the market who are proving that cold calling does work. And even though you're consistent for maybe a short period of time and you're only focused on cold calling, it's going to be tough, and you're going to doubt that you're ever going to be able to actually get past that barrier. And that's where most people quit, and that's where most people fail. So what you need to do in this kind of a situation is just take the pain. And this is the statement that everyone says, but if you aren't really able to push through when shit gets tough, you want to think of this as like it's like you're kind of in a situation now, like you're on an island, and the 10K per month, 100K per month, wherever you want to go, is another island. And in between these two islands, like you have a boat, and it's SMMA or whatever the case may be, there's like a thunderstorm in the middle of that ocean, and you're going to get like part way off the shore, and then you're going to realize that essentially it's not as nice as you thought. And 99.999% of people are going to say, well, it's impossible to get past that storm, and then they just turn their ship around. So you need to actually push through it, even when there's doubts, and even when it's difficult, because it's going to get difficult. Now, I want to get into the 2 tactical skills, but I do want you to know that the 3 that I just mentioned are more important than these 2, and that's because if you are consistent, and if you are focused, and if you are willing to sacrifice, these other 2 things will eventually come naturally. But these 2 skills that I'm talking about is persuasion and positioning. And what I mean by that is I'll go over them individually. So in order to get clients, you need to do 2 things. You need to get someone on a call, and you need to be able to close them. And the two things like that you need, getting someone on a call and closing them, they both require persuasion, right? You need to be able to persuade someone to get on that call in the first place, and then you need to be able to persuade them that you have the answer to the problem that they're facing now. And that is mainly a skill that you develop over time. And if you are cold calling, for example, every single day, you are going to develop that skill relatively quickly. And once you get on those calls, you are going to be prepared, and you're going to be conversationally aware, and you're going to be able to kind of persuade them to be able to take that next step, because it's a skill that you've put in the time and the consistency and the effort and the focus into to be able to get that person to take the next step. And the second thing is kind of touching on the fact that this is a saturated market, okay? Whatever kind of business you're in, most likely, if you own an agency, there's a million other agencies out there. And the problem with that is everyone is basically selling the same thing, everyone's doing the same outreach, and everyone is offering the same guarantee. So you need to be able to position yourself differently. And I can make a whole video on this as well, on actually creating an offer and learning how to be able to stand out in your market. But the thing is, you need to be able to show people that you are different than other people, even if you're selling the same thing. So as an example, if you are selling Facebook ads, what you should not do is you should not go up to a business owner and ask them if they want you to run Facebook ads for them, because they don't. What they want is a predictable and reliable system to be able to help them generate more money. So you don't need to tell them that you run Facebook ads, because every single other person in the market is also telling them that they run Facebook ads or Google ads or whatever kind of ads or marketing or outreach or whatever your service is, whether it's short form content, could be anything. You don't tell them what you're doing, you tell them the result that it's going to bring you, and you tell them kind of a secret as to how you're able to do that. So for example, if you're like using Go High Level automations to kind of nurture the lead after the appointment is booked, so what you could say is we have an AI essentially appointment booking system that runs on complete autopilot and schedules qualified buyers into your calendar, or it essentially schedules it's going to depend on the industry, right? But let's say it's you're working with gym owners and you're selling Facebook ads for gym owners. So what you could say is we have developed a predictable AI-based membership acquisition system, and we're guaranteeing XYZ. So you're not selling Facebook ads, you're sending in predictable AI, basically member generation system. So you want to keep it high level. And this is just an example. You don't want to just copy and paste this and use it into your own business, but you want to kind of use the framework that I've used, where you want to be able to essentially just position yourself kind of as a different, something different in the market. And you can have bolt-ons without doing XYZ, without a retainer. And what that could mean is essentially you just charge for the first 6 months up front. So you could say, or you could work on performance even, which I would recommend if you're just starting out. But you could say we do it without a retainer, and then you just charge $6,000 for 6 months. And then you can just do a payment plan. So you can just add bolt-on things. If you're doing email marketing for gyms, you could say we found a way to retain, or I guess to acquire new members and retain them for XYZ months, whatever a good retention is for gyms. I'm not super, I don't exactly know what a good retention is in that niche, but you'd say basically their desired result, and we do that all without running any ads. And then they're going to be instantly more interested because you position yourself differently than every other person that's running ads to that gym. So that's pretty much it. Those are the 5 skills that you're going to need. If you need help with getting appointments, you can click the first link in the description if you want to. I don't really care, but it's up to you. Other than that, I'll see you in the next one. Have a good one.